So just like every other presentation that you've done in this class, most of the work is in the preparation. Your interview is no different. In fact, it's probably more important that you do the prep work here. If you show up and you don't know anything about the company, you don't know anything about yourself and your own accomplishments, if you haven't thought all that through ahead of time, you're probably not going to do a good job. So how do you prepare? I'm glad you asked. Let's talk about this. So what is the first question that anybody gets asked in an interview ever? Any guesses? I can't hear you because you're in the internet. Anyway, so the first question that anybody ever gets asked in an interview is, tell me a little bit about yourself, right? And you would be surprised how many people have not anticipated this question. And they just sort of fumble over, like, I was born at a very early age and I have like 3 kids and, I just enjoy knitting and, I'm a Gators fan. Do these serve any purpose? Are they helpful? Are they setting you apart? And the answer is no. And because most people, whenever they go into the interview, they go in with a very passive mindset, right? They think, I'm going to get asked some questions and I'm going to try to answer those questions and maybe they'll like me. Maybe they'll pick me. Who knows? But what the people that do a really good job, the people that stand apart, are people who have decided ahead of time, I want to share these things about myself that I think will make me a good candidate and make me stand out. And so they have spent the time thinking about themselves and what they're good at and what they value. And so whenever they get hit with that question, tell me a little bit about yourself, that's an opportunity for them to be proactive and share things that you want to share about yourself. So what do you want to share about yourself? So here's some things to think about. What are your values? Like, why do you want to work at this place? Does it align with your values? Are you, is this a company that is very green and eco-friendly and this is the thing that you value in life? Have you been farming in the family for like 200 years and this company has been, had like a great reputation for like standing by its customers and integrity, and that appeals to you. These are ways for you to connect, with the organization that you're trying to, get to. Are your personal goals related to the job description, right? If they are, tell them that, right? Like if the position is to, teach students in some high school and you have gone to school and wanted to be, an ag ed teacher your whole life and, want to work in education and maybe move up and be in education administration or teach at the college level. If these are all things that match up, great, tell them about that because they're not going to find out if you don't tell them, right? Other things to think about, like what are your strengths? And then what are your weaknesses? And this is the thing that people think, I shouldn't share about my weaknesses. But like it's a comparative term, right? Like if you have strengths, by definition, you also have weaknesses. And I will tell you from sitting on the other side of the table that I don't care that you have weaknesses. Everybody has weaknesses. What I do care about is that you're aware of what you're bad at and that you are making a plan to get better at it. And so that's why we say true answers, with solutions. Don't be like, man, I struggle to get out of bed before 10 every day and sometimes don't check my email for a month. Like that's not a thing that you want to share or a thing that I think that you would share. So think about these things and then have personal examples for each category that sort of fit the position description, and definitely, have an answer prepped out for that tell me about yourself question. Cool, yeah. All right, let's move on. So other things that you can do to prepare. You need to research this company like it's your job. Like just imagine you're a detective. If you need to get Sherlock Holmes hat, like whatever you got to do to get in the zone, okay? And so some things to think about, like, what is the size of the company? Like how many employees does it have? Are you going to work with a team of like 40 or is there 3 people that work for the company? Does they have stated values? Because that may be a thing that they ask you about. Does it have a stated mission? It probably should. If it doesn't, you probably don't want to work there. What services does it offer? Like, are its sales numbers up or down? If it's a publicly traded company, is it on the upswing or the downswing? Has it been in the news for being bad stuff? Like, you just need to know as much about the company as you can, right? Because, these people that work there live and breathe it every day. If you come in and you during the interview, sort of belay that you don't know a whole lot about this other than that you just want a job someplace, they're going to think, does this kid really want to work here? Or does this kid just need a job someplace? And so the more that you can do and learn about it, the better off you'll be. For some companies, like especially bigger companies, oftentimes they'll have a press room, and like on the website, say like, I mean, not like a physical room, but like a website sort of thing where they publish, PR hack sort of stuff. And those are good to read through, right? Because you can kind of keep up on the organization's news and what they're sharing. If they have an annual report that they put out, that'd be a good thing to read. But you can also, especially in like, smaller companies and small town stuff, like talk to people that that work in the industry. Say, what's it like to work at this place? Is it terrible? Like, do people like it? Where are they going? Et cetera, et cetera. So you can, Google their website. You can check out publications, you can reports, and talk to insiders. And by insiders, I just mean people that work in and around the industry. If you do have a friend, or somebody that or like a distant uncle that works in the company, it's totally okay to call them up and say, what's it like to work there? Where are they going? What's their, like, are they, like on the upswing, or is things falling apart? Is it a dumpster fire of a company? That's what I'm asking. So, okay. Some other things to know about are, what is the interview process going to be? All right. And so what kind of interview will you have first off? Is it like on campus or on site? Are you going to go to the corporate headquarters? Are you going to meet like in the field someplace? Is it over a meal? Is this a job fair sort of situation? Because those are completely different, right? Is it a telephone call? Is it a Skype call? Always wear pants, even if you're on Skype. Is it like going to be a group interview? And will there be multiple rounds? Will they interview you once via telephone, and then, if you make the cut, then they call you back? So these are good things to know. If they don't say it in, the letter or the email or whatever saying that you got an interview, it's totally okay to call and ask these things. And then also, who are you going to meet? Are you going to meet one-on-one, like with, the CEO? Are you going to meet with a committee that's going to vet you? Is it a series of like committees and one-on-one? Like, how's it going to go? Like, what's it, these are totally okay questions to ask. You shouldn't ask them if they write it down for you and you could have just read it. But like, if you don't have it, it's totally okay to call and ask. So, how will you be interviewed? Other things to think about. And what types of questions could you be asked? Here are some common ones. There's a lot of background questions, right? So, Johnny, I'm looking over your resume here and I see where you worked for 2 summers at this place. Tell us a little bit about what you did there, all right? And so those kinds of things are good, right? So that's totally, like, you should get those right every time, because it's just asking about your experience. So, look over your resume that you've submitted that got you the interview, and pull out a couple things that you think may be interested to them, and then make sure that you have like some little stories to share about that. And we'll talk more about how to put those together in this presentation. They may ask you problem-solving questions, right? So, if you were in this situation, what would you do? Kinds of things. And so it's good to, again, if you got insiders or people that work in the industry doing similar jobs to what you're applying for, to say, all right, like, what are some things that they may ask? And then try to generate a list of questions, and then answer them for yourself. And even if those don't end up being the ones that they ask you, at least you'll feel more prepared. So they may ask you off the wall questions. It's just sometimes if they ask you a question and that there's no way that anybody could know the answer to that, you should just assume that they're trying to get a sense of A, how you operate under pressure, and then B, how your mind works, right? So one of my favorite off the wall interview questions is, how much glass is there in the windows in Manhattan? That's the thing that I've learned. It's like 52,000 acres or something like that. But, but so sometimes they're just getting a sense of like, do you just give up? Do you try to like work it out? Do you deflect? Like, they just want to see how you react. I don't know that there's a right way, but these are just things that happen. Don't fight it. Don't say that's a dumb question. That's a thing that I did one time. So they may ask your opinion on stuff. They may ask you to talk about like competencies that you have, and they may ask you about like behaviors that you have too. So, all right. So let's talk about you and dressing, right? How should I dress? And remember that dress is part of nonverbal communication, right? If you look like you just rolled out of a ditch, does it give the impression that you want to be there? Probably not, right? So generally, for most interviews, you're looking at business dress versus business casual, or like one of those two, depending on, where you're being interviewed and what kind of company it is, but in general, like, you always want your hair to look nice. I would say don't ever get a haircut the day before, because it looks like you just got a haircut for the interview. And what if it goes wrong? Like, you got to have so I always like to say, give yourself a week ahead of time. So I don't know why I have to tell you this, but please cut your fingernails. Don't be gross. Minimum pocket contents. Why is this? Because you will play with the things in your pockets. Take those things out of your pocket. They also, you don't want to have them jangling around, because you're going to be nervous and doing dumb stuff. Always carry a light, briefcase or a portfolio of some kind, just to keep materials in, keep your business cards in, to take notes maybe. Don't show up with your JanSport backpack from middle school, because that'll make you look like an amateur. So there you have it. And no visible piercings, because, it depends on where you're applying, I suppose. But if you're working in any type of corporate sort of thing, they probably are not gonna want to see your nose ring. So flip it up inside. Anyway, all right. So here's some things for the guys. Sorry, it's almost impossible to give a girl's sort of overview of what casual to business is, because there's so much variation. So luckily for guys, it's real easy. So you want to be on the business casual to semi-formal / business spectrum, right there in the middle, right? Just FYI. By the way, it took me a while to figure out the difference between semi-formal and black tie optional. And then I eventually learned that pockets with flaps on a coat are considered less formal than slit pockets. And so you see the guy's got slit pockets there. Also, if you ever see a pocket on the left with a tiny pocket above it, that's called the train ticket pocket. And it's a very British thing. So now you know. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk about how to impress people.